So I've been thinking about the word compassion and what it means in the 21st century, but most importantly, what it means to me. So I, been thinking about it for about a month, and the first thing that came to me is I'm very simple when it comes to definitions. I like a very raw, basic kind of, that's how I do mediumship. That's kind of my belief system. And I instantly was like, compassion is love. It's as simple as that. It's a form of love. Compassion is love. So I kind of like walked away from it. Then I came back to it, I'm like, well, maybe I should get like a little meatier, maybe I should dig a little deeper in my soul and find it. And all I could come up with for me personally was compassion is love, but it's also the supporting of wanting to support others, wanting to help others. That was it. That was all I got. So when I kept going back and forth, I kept coming back, this is love. This is helping others. That's what it is. So then I thought, well, maybe I should look into somebody more professional. So I looked at Wikipedia. Maybe I should go online, look at those resources. So I did. And I was a little baffled at what I found. So I thought I would write a few of the definitions, the quote unquotes of what I found online, and give you my opinion of it. And I'm very passionate about this, so my opinion will be very strong. I'm just forewarning you. So the compassion, if you break it down, it really means to suffer together. And my heart was like, what? Like, suffer together? Like, that's not my definition of compassion or love at all. I get why they're putting that as they're looking at people suffering, and that's why you're supposed to have compassion for them. You're supposed to feel their suffering in order to help them. But I don't necessarily agree with that. I looked at that as that's not my definition of love. And so I'll give you another one. This one's worse. So it literally has quote unquote, these are two words that, first of all, I would never put together, and one I would never use. Sympathetic pity and concern for the suffering or misfortunes of others. That one took me down the rabbit hole. So I thought, okay, first of all, pity shouldn't be in my vocabulary. So I don't believe in pity. I believe in love and helping others. I don't believe in pity at all. So sympathetic pity is just like worse. But the fact also that they said suffering and misfortunes, and I don't feel, as this is my belief system, and I believe spiritualist belief system, is that we have lessons that we learned. They're not misfortunes. They may be tragic and they may be hard to go through, but there are lessons, and I have my lessons, you have your lessons, but they're not suffering and misfortunes. To me, there's something that I need to work through. I need to look at all different angles, let's rip it apart. That's my idea of what I'm going through in life. So I don't look at, I'm having a sympathetic pity for somebody who's going through something that is different than mine. So I look at it as that everybody has their own lessons and they're going through something different than mine. And if I can just love them and be there for them and support them, then everything, the ripple effect, right? Everything else will fall into place. So then I wondered how they would use it in a sentence. So I found it, I guess, odd of why they would use this in a sentence. I get the bigger picture of it, but the sentence that they used was, the victims should be treated with compassion. So that's a hard word for me also, is victims, because I don't want to be a victim or anybody be a victim of their circumstances. They're also like lessons, and you're just a human person, loving light, going through whatever you're going through. So I had trouble with that. The next one, I got like an instant visual of when I read this sentence. So we'll see if you get the same visual as I do. So quote, Compassion is a social feeling that motivates people to go out of their way to relieve the physical, mental, or emotional pains of others and themselves. So my image was somebody with a cell phone recording an act of kindness, right? Where I'm always looking at that person going, what is that person with the camera doing? Like, why aren't you helping? Why don't you have that humanity? Why don't you have that urge to go and help? So that was my social feeling of like all of that. And I know it's not what they meant, but that's like what the visual I got was that there was a social feeling, oh, when everybody's looking, I'm gonna be kind, right? I'm gonna make sure everybody's looking, then I'm gonna be kind. But what got me even worse was when it said to go out of your way. So it shouldn't be ever going out of your way. This should be a natural instinct, a natural thing to love and want to help people. It's not going out of your way. If you see that is going out of your way, that to me is what's wrong with the world, is that they actually feel, I did above and beyond, pat me on the back because I went over and helped that person. Isn't that what you're supposed to do every day, all day long, right? So that was very disturbing for me, for that we don't think that that's a natural everyday thing. Like I kind of feel like it should be like my instincts are never to walk in the opposite direction, and my instincts are almost like a first responder. I'm always going to go towards something that needs help. I'm not going to run the other direction. And I've watched in I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, I'm not, I've had some first aid training, but you really don't want me like rescuing you. But I'm the first, right? But I'm the first one on the scene. I have always been like, there was stuff that happened at work. I was the first one at that person. I was the first one responding. My instinct was to drop everything I had, yell for the actual first responder, and run towards the scene. And I've done it several times. And I was the person holding the hand. I was the person talking them through, just comforting them. In my mind, I've also, and in my, my training, I'm also sending them healing. Nobody else knows what I'm doing, right? I'm also doing that and asking for guides and angels and loved ones. But at the same time, that's my instinct to go towards something. That should be our, you don't have to be the person stitching or helping or covering wounds, right? You do your light work and the way you need to do it. So the next one, I promise this is the last one, it said that human disposition that fuels acts of kindness and mercy. And it also, the next sentence was, compassion is a form of love. And I was like, oh, okay, that one's okay. Like I kind of like that one's, and how many did I have? 1, 2, out of 5, I had one that I could relate to, that I could resonate with and say, that is a human disposition that you're, fueling an act of kindness. I didn't love the mercy part, but hey, that's pretty darn good, right? And I also loved that it literally said, compassion is a form of love. It's exactly what it is. And coinciding too, with what Jane had in the Dalai Lama, that's the whole thing is, if we can just learn how to love and support each other, that is a trickle effect that will affect the rest of the world. And I get there's different levels of love, right? We all have to people can't love on certain levels, and that's all part of learning and growing, right? And there's different branches of it, and there's different, meat to all the different versions of love. There's, also loving and receiving, learning how to do that. But if we can at least do our one thing, to love to the best of our ability, and to love in the best way that we can in general for our highest and best, but also so that we can be the best version of ourselves. I think that alone, if we could just do that one thing and then let the ripple effect and let the rest fall into place, To me, all the other words, compassion, empathy, all of those don't matter as long as we have love. So I'm going to leave this with my love to you. Thank you.